If I want to do something that is going to, risk the house or potentially, risk our lifestyle for a period of time, I'm going to do it.
Hey guys, it's Matt Haycox here, and on today's episode of the show, we're seeing a familiar face, JP de Villiers. You'll have seen him before on a lot of my content on YouTube and Instagram, and you'll have also seen me interview him and him interview me. But today is another one of him interviewing me. We get to delve a bit deeper. Obviously, JP's a friend of mine now, so he knows me well. He knows the right questions to ask. So I really hope for you guys that he gets the best out of me and really gets to dig into some interesting stuff so I can give you some tangible strategies to help improve your life and help grow your business.
I think you're still unemployable. Definitely fucking unemployable.
I'm 38 years old now, so I've been in business for 20 years. And that's, I always describe it as in varying degrees of success over the past 20 years. So I started in a family corporate clothing business in 1999. I'd not wanted to go to uni. I'd kind of gone because I was either pressured by my parents or felt like I didn't want to let them down. So I went for 6 weeks, left because I was trying to hold a job down at the same time. It wasn't possible to do the two really, and I kind of said to my parents, look, I want to try and work in this job, work in this business, and if it all fails, then at least I'll consider it a gap year, and I can go back to uni again the year after. And I always jest and say, 20 years on, I'm still crossing my fingers that I'm not going to have to go back to uni. But so I'd always wanted to be involved in leisure, for no reason of knowledge or understanding the economics of the business. But I think every 18-year-old guy wants to own a bar so he can get drunk and hang out with girls. So I started in pubs, moved from pubs to bars, and I guess realised what was missing in the financial model, which coincidentally or serendipitously, let's say, I found in the lap dancing business. So I started my first lap dancing bar in 2004. I do think we got the product very right, but I'll also put it down to a bit of
so
the right place at the right time.
You must have been about 24 then.
I was
24, 25?
I was 23 when the first one opened. I think we planned it for about a year prior, and I was 23 when it opened. And from being 23 to then 27, kind of right place at the right time with the first lap dancing club, and I guess capitalised on that, rode the wave, and by 2007 I was the biggest lap dancing operator in the UK. We had clubs from Blackpool down to Bristol, and I guess the knowledge I'd learnt from running that business, then naturally, I say naturally, I was always very hungry and aggressive, to try new things and to move into other areas. So over that 4 or 5 year period, I ended up with business interests in retail, in property, in finance. So I was, let's say at my peak, I'll have been 27. Let's call this the beginning of 2008. I'd have been 27, had multiple 7-figure businesses, eight figures combined, and for those of you who are either old enough to remember or just know the time, 2008 first and second quarter of the year was really the onset of the credit crunch. Yeah. All my businesses were very over leveraged. We had debt coming out of our eyeballs, but I guess I'll put that down to a combination of naivety and necessity, insofar as from a naivety perspective. Look, it was my first cycle of business. I didn't really know any better.
So you mean you were just too hungry, were you growing too fast? I was probably growing too fast for the type of funding that we had. I mean, so what I mean by that is we were in the era of kind of fast, easy money, and all of our funders were short-term, expensive funders. But I guess they were as daft for lending as I was for borrowing. But like I said, I didn't really know any better. Had people prepared to fund and back everything we were doing, and I just wanted to grow more and more. Come 2008, we knew that we were over leveraged, and we knew we needed some mainstream funding, whether that was equity or large scale cheap debt, and we had appetite from some of the main banks to actually come in and provide that for us. And as the conversation started to progress, then everyone's appetite waned, because we got to June, July 2008, onset of the credit crunch. They close the doors, and we have to go back to the drawing board. Now, I'll always maintain that if this happened to me a year or 18 months later, I think my story of bankruptcy would have been very different. But I had to then at that point go back to all my funders and say, listen guys, we've got a problem here. There's no way we can repay you the amounts of money over the periods of time.
Yeah.
Never asked anyone to take a haircut. Never asked anyone to take any capital reductions or lose any money. But I was basically saying, look, can't pay you over 2 or 3 years. Need to pay you over 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it may be. But here's a plan in place that gets us all out. That gets you 100 pence in the pound. That continues to earn you interest. And it's the best option for all of us. They turned around and basically said, we don't need to do any deals with you. We've got your personal guarantee. I was like, well, yes, you've got my personal guarantee, but I've personally guaranteed about 45 million quid worth of debt. It is not getting paid. And the reason I say if this has been 12, 18 months later is because as much as these guys knew there was maybe a problem, I don't think anyone knew what carnage there was to come.
Yeah.
So I was very much at the beginning of this, where they were thinking, well, we can do what we've always done, put the screws on someone's personal guarantee and they'll find a way to come up with the money. If it was $1 million or 2 or 3, I don't know what the cut-off point was, but if it was that kind of money, then I'm sure I could have worked out if it refinanced it. I was 27 years old, like I say, 45 million quid of the debt. It was never, ever, ever happening. But you fast forward 12 months, and all these funders have been spanked left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
If I'd have turned around to them and said, "Listen, you're getting 10p in the pound, and you're going to fucking take it," they'd have been like, "Thank you, Matt. Thank you so much." But it was what it was. Couldn't do the deals, and effectively the businesses got pushed into administration in August 2008. I had obviously, as I said, I had personal guarantees and everything. So
for £45 million
collected. That was a combination.
How are you feeling then? Because you're a strong character.
So I was effectively feeling two sides to this, really. One was, it was just a day like any other day in the office, that it was problems that needed solving. But at the same time, I was getting told left, right, and centre that this is something that you'll never recover from. Once your businesses have gone into admin or you've been made personally bankrupt, it's such a stigma that that you will never recover from. Now, again, I didn't know. A lot of the time, well, a lot of the things I'll say to you today around that time is, I didn't know any better. I didn't know any better when I was borrowing the money. I didn't know any better when I was going bankrupt. Most of my business education has been learnt on the job. So I guess I was finding my feet and taking it each day as it came. But I guess if we contextualise that into today's world of when we talk about personal development and always learning, etc., or who you surround yourself with, obviously the people providing with this information of you'll never recover, bankruptcy is the end of everything, were not people I should have been taking advice from. Now, I probably didn't take advice from them, not out of the skill of picking the right people to take advice from, but I guess just because I wasn't prepared or able to allow myself to make it that terminal. I was 27 years old. My daughter was one and change at the time. I was married. I had no option but to find some recovery from this. So I guess I can't really give you a wow answer. I almost feel like I'm shortchanging you or shortchanging your viewers with the answer. But my just answer is, I wasn't going to. I was 27. I was probably unemployable. Even if I was employable, I didn't want to go work for somebody else.
You're still unemployable. Definitely fucking unemployable.
But I didn't want to work for someone else, nor did I want to sit on the couch watching Jeremy Kyle for the rest of my life. So it was really a matter of getting up and getting back on with it. And one story I always kind of tell as an anecdote around the time. Because obviously, as you're getting made bankrupt and you've got creditors chasing you, assets are getting repossessed. So my wife had a Range Rover that was on finance with whatever finance company at the time. And I remember one night we were getting ready for dinner, and she's in her dressing room and she comes screaming into the bedroom, Matt, look what's going on. And we look out the window and there's someone there with a low loader loading a Range Rover onto the car, loading a Range Rover onto the low loader. And she's like almost like in hysterics. What we're going to do? They're taking my car away. And the only answer I could give her is, well, we're going to take a taxi, because it was for me. It was just that simple level of pragmatism. Look, the car's gone. If they weren't going to, we knew they were taking it. If they weren't taking it tonight, they'd come and get it tomorrow or the next week or the next month. There was no way that car was staying in our life at that point in time. So the only extra inconvenience to us was we were going to use it for dinner that night, and we couldn't. So I guess for me in all of my recovery and all of my journey, it was a combination of having no desire to remain with no money and just being simplistic and pragmatic about things. And I think I'll always, I guess if I was ever to describe myself, I always use the kind of preceding words of the world's ultimate pragmatist. I just everything in life really is simple if you distill it down to its simplest parts.
First of all, what business are you doing today, right? So actually, no, let me ask you another question and then we'll come to that question. What were I have my cap here and it says WYNM, which is what's your next move?
Okay.
I'm sure I ask not only for myself, but for everyone watching. What was your next move in that? Yes, you were pragmatic. Yes, you were practical. Yes, you had a fantastic mindset to say, okay, this has happened. Let's look at what we can focus on or what we can use, a cab, etc. But what was your next move to get out of that? And how long did it take you to get back to okay?
So I think if I answer this question, I'd probably get too similar, but let's say my 2019 answer is probably a more deep / embellished answer than my 2008 answer would be. But back in 2008, my next move was simply to wake up and go and do some business. Now, what that would be or what it specifically was at the time, I can't remember exactly to tell you, but it would have been in the same space I'm in now. Same space I was in then. If I answer that question now, and I actually had this conversation, I think you were talking about my Katie Price podcast the other week, and obviously something we dug deep on was bankruptcy, and Katie talks about how she's relaxed about it, and I think the reason I'm relaxed about risk taking and don't lose too much sleep about losses and stuff now is because I know that I have a level of knowledge which, as Dan Locke would say, a high income skill.
Yeah, Dan Rock.
Yeah, it would be described as a high income skill, and I guess my skill sets today would be finance broking, investment arranging, things in that space. So I know that should I be dropped in the middle of the desert, or should I lose everything and then have to start again tomorrow? Okay, yes, I might be starting again in a Ford Fiesta as opposed to a Mercedes or a Ferrari, but I'm still the same me. I've still got the same level of knowledge, which is a level of knowledge that is better than it was yesterday and better than it was 10 years ago. And I think so my biggest piece of advice to anybody is to have a set of skills that will earn you money whatever's going on in the world, whether that's someone like me who needs / wants to earn my level of money, or whether you're a hairdresser, a gardener, a table magician, whatever it is, so that you will never ever be out of work and out of income.
And I think it ties into that first answer, which is so powerful, which is, my focus was just to go out and do some business. That was rare. You okay?
Oh yeah, no. Some of your people were just coming. I was going to share a link, but sorry.
So yeah, Matt's engaging with the audience here on the other Facebook. I'll come to the comments now. I'm seeing the comments pop up, but that ties into each other. One, have your skill and go. And I mean, this is really powerful for anyone that's ever been through any kind of challenge or adversity or a financial situation where you think, oh shit, I don't know what to do next. And actually for myself as well, I don't know if you've seen, but over the last 5 minutes, I've taken a couple of really deep breaths. And when someone does that, it means they've just had life inspired into them, right? Inspiration. I'm going, this is really good, because regardless of my accident, regardless of, financial challenges, I always have my skills. I always have my head. It's always me. You never can lose that. And actually over time, even through these challenges, you're only becoming a better version of yourself.
I think if you've got a set of skills that can generate you income, if you've got a positive outlook on life, and you've got the ability to communicate or network. I mean, those three things will tick all the boxes in either being able to scale your business up from where it is now, or start from zero again. Should you have lost everything overnight.
I just think it's incredibly powerful, man, and I've just been inspired by that. A lot of people will make their situation much bigger than it is because of the way they're thinking, and they make it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, when actually all you need to do is, I've called it this for years, show up. That's the first thing you need to do. Get out of your situation, show up. So, whatever you can do or whatever skill you have, just go out and do business, whatever that means for you.
And I think just staying on the bankruptcy topic for a second as well, and this is something that, again, I only really thought of in these terms when we were talking about the other week, but I think it's definitely something that I would feature into my repertoire of comments, if you like, being asked about bankruptcy, is that it has this horrendous stigma around it. This terminality. This absolute end of everything, which either makes people scared or depressed or potentially suicidal. And for me, when you actually think about it, bankruptcy isn't the beginning of the end. It's actually the end of an already shit situation. And by that, what I mean is, you don't wake up, go bankrupt, and then have all this shit ahead of you in your life. You're going bankrupt because you've got insurmountable debts. So you've therefore probably been suffering for the previous months or years or whatever it may be, where you're getting your doors knocked every day from the bailiffs. Where your income is less, so your income is less than your expenditure. And all these bad things, but the point of bankruptcy is actually the crystallization of the end of these problems. You go bankrupt today, and all these creditors who were chasing you and all these problems that were on your door actually disappear, and you're effectively starting with a clean sheet tomorrow. Okay, fine. That's a clean sheet where you've gone bankrupt, and you might have a credit blemish, or that's about a generous term, isn't it? But that's a completely fucked credit. However, all the problems you've been suffering have disappeared overnight. And I guess that the analogy I would give is, if you're a terminally ill cancer patient, and you're terminally ill, and you're therefore suffering, you're suffering horrendously every day with I guess whatever symptoms and horrific illness you're suffering, during this terminally ill period of being a cancer sufferer. Do you fear death? I don't know. Thank God I've never been there, nor have I know anyone else to specifically ask the question to.
That would.
But if every day for me was absolutely horrendous, being sick, undergoing therapy, all this kind of stuff,
am I fearing death? Well, I'm probably looking forward to it because my current life's so fucking horrible. And
regardless of whether it's ending the suffering or getting cured or dying, you just want it to end at that stage.
Exactly. And I would use that analogy for on the bankruptcy story that you've been suffering horrible stress and problems and these debts that you just can't get rid of, and then you're made bankrupt and they've gone. Now, okay, I don't want to say that's almost like glamorizing or simplifying it, but I think it's very important for people to look in those terms, because if you do think about it in those terms, then it certainly isn't something to make you depressed or suicidal. You probably, if I say should, we don't want anyone to be depressed or suicidal, but if you're going to be depressed or suicidal at any point, be it in the run up to being bankrupt, because at the point you're bankrupt, your problems are out of your way.
Yeah, I think
that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I think it also has a lot to do with ego, and pride, and fear of judgment, fear of being seen in full transparency, and because it requires radical truth. If you're going to go bankrupt, you need to be prepared to say, look, here's my truth. This is the truth. Here, bang.
I mean, I guess that's probably something I've never suffered myself, because I've always never had an issue being honest along the journey anyway. I think maybe for a lot of people it's an issue because of today's Instagram society, where you look at everybody's Instagram page and Facebook page, and everyone's living their best life, and then how do they get out of that? I've never, and not just in today's world, but ever since I've done business, I've never had an issue talking about the bad or the good, or being transparent about what's going on in my life. So
just I have to say that actually, Matt just mentioned he's not afraid to be honest, which is why this wasn't a situation for him, or why he could deal with it, why there was no fear, or not as much fear as anyone else or other people when going bankrupt, or when having to go out there and do business. I think you have a lack of fear because you're not trying to be someone else or be seen in a certain way. And I say this sincerely, and I said it outside by your Ferrari. I said, Matt, we're talking about truth. And Matt was asking me about my coaching, and I said, really what makes me an extraordinary coach is my ability to be radically honest with people. And Matt was like, yeah, this is an ingredient that I have, that I own, that I believe you have to have. And I think when it comes to taking massive risks, either in failure or in success, or in the pursuit of success, I think that fearlessness and the ability to be honest and be seen for all that you are, I think that is a massive ingredient for success. Now,
what as well, I think it's a massive ingredient for happiness and simplicity,
100%.
and simplicity 100%. As well, because if you're always honest about your situation, then you've never got any risk of being caught out in your life. Whether or not you're looking to take massive risks and grow your business or anything else, if you're just looking to live a normal life, if you don't post pictures on your Instagram where you've borrowed someone's Ferrari, then you don't have to worry about being caught in Aldi driving your Fiat Punto, do you? I think so many of people's stresses in life come from such unnecessary bullshit like that.
I've had quite a few times where people have said to me, and when introducing me before I go on stage, say, this is someone that walks their talk, he really just lives by his own rules, lives on his own terms. And some people have said, JP just really, someone met me recently about a year ago and said, man, I watched your content, but now that I've seen you speak, I realize you really, really just don't give a shit what anyone thinks about you. And honestly, I just think that is the easiest way to feel free to do you, be you,
because the people that matter to you, the people that you want to think good of you, will think good of you, and because they get you or whatever anyway, and the people that you normally worry about in traditional society, if you actually look at it, they're not people you really want in your life anyway.
I don't think I've ever shared this with you, but when we were skiing in France in March,
That's because we were on separate time clocks when we were there. JP was getting up 5 hours ahead of all of us. He'd wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, run up the mountains, do exercise, and he was actually going live on Facebook whilst running up
in the snow.
Meditating in the snow, doing press-ups, sit-ups, burpees in the snow, then doing an hour or two's work and coaching calls, and then I'd just about be wandering down in my dressing gown.
You guys would be waking up. But no, seriously, so we had a dinner once, and I shared this with my wife, Jules, and I was just saying, man, he's an inspirational guy for a few reasons, because I was just really getting to know you then. And I gave this example to Jules that we were all sitting around the table drinking, and the chef and the kitchen staff were cooking in the kitchen. And I've definitely not shared this with you. And there were females cooking in the kitchen. I'm talking like 3-4 meters away from us. And Matt's just there talking about some girl that he's just dated. And oh, she was so hot and her ass was amazing. And I was just laughing. And I was just thinking, you know what? It's so funny because whether these staff were here or whether they weren't, I can see just by spending 3 days with this person, that literally you're always the same. Are you ever different?
No, 100%. Yeah. And I actually got a voice note from someone the other day, and who's let's say, an agent PR guy who we've never met actually, but we speak on voice notes and do emails, and he arranges quite a few other guests and stuff on our podcast, and he'd never watched anything until the other day, and he watched one of the Katie Price ones, and he left me a voice note the next day just to say, really enjoyed watching it. He goes, what I found astounding was listening to you talking about your history or interviewing the guests. It's just like listening to a voice note from you, because we trade voice notes when we're talking. And he said, the way you talk on your voice note, the way I know you is exactly the same as what you are online. And I guess I don't say that to pat myself on the back or whatever. It just is what it is.
I've just realised, I think that's why you and I connect so well, is because we have that same value of honesty, transparency, truth, etc. And just to come back to that last example, yes, it's not saying that you didn't want to hurt a girl's feelings, whatever, but a lot of people won't say certain things, let's say in this example, because he's talking about sleeping with a girl or whatever in front of another girl. A lot of people won't say it because they don't want to be perceived in a certain way. But what I said to my wife Jules when I got home, I was like, he just doesn't care. He's not trying to portray himself as anyone else anyway. So I think that's another massive.
I don't know if that's got me any brownie points with the girls out there.
I think
maybe we can edit this story.
You know what? I think one of the things that makes you so attractive to women is they love fucking honesty. They love honesty. Anyway, so one of the questions I really wanted to ask you before I got here was, we've spoken about an ingredient for success and what you think has been an ingredient for you. But like building everything in life, a Ferrari, a Rolls Royce, a chocolate cake, you require certain ingredients. This is a selfish question for me, but what do you believe has been the top 5 ingredients or 6 ingredients that you have used your entire life for the last 15, 20 years for you to be able to keep showing up, keep being resilient, keep creating new business, new deals, etc.?
I think
truth.
Yeah, I mean, what would I pick? I'd say I outwork anyone anyone near me. I completely outwork them.
Yeah.
Now, some people who know me might not see it like that because a lot of people might look at my lifestyle and go, you're always on holiday, you're this, that, and the other.
But you always have your phone.
I am working 24/7, whether it's sat on a beach on my telephone or whether it's putting myself in situations and locations to network with people and meet people, or whether it's reading a book that's something that's going to develop my business or develop myself. I'm on duty 24 hours a day, but then again, I don't say that to pat myself on the back. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it. But I say I'm working 24/7, but I also look back at the last 20 years and almost think I've never worked a day in my life because I do genuinely enjoy everything I do so much. Even the problems, even the stress. It's a necessary byproduct, if you like, of trying to grow. I guess it's like going to the gym.
gym. You know, you can't go to the gym and get big muscles unless you're going to have some muscle pain afterwards,
and be willing to give it all.
Exactly, or
feel
feel sick after having spent an hour in there with you. So definitely hard work. Appetite for risk. I mean, you could probably reframe that in different ways, but whether it's, you know, being prepared to try new things, being prepared to take risks, you know, or also, you know, being prepared to do the things that others won't do.
So when you say an appetite, sorry, is it being prepared, or is it like always looking to see where the risks are, or where the opportunity is more than anyone else?
I don't.
Or waiting for it to come to you and then acting.
I don't want to take risks. I'm not saying almost like I'm a crazy gambler, but I'm not out there looking for risk. But you know, I'm more than happy to accept that you know, without risk there is no reward. Or, you know, to get reward we need risk. And I guess I've always been prepared. You know, being prepared to push that. You know, no matter what state I've been in life. And you know, I guess if I've ever had serious relationships, you know, with my ex-wife or with a couple of long-term girlfriends over the years, you know, I've always very much had a rule that effectively my money or my business, you know, never gets discussed or debated internally, because if I want to do something that is going to, you know, risk the house or potentially, you know, risk our lifestyle for a period of time, I'm going to do it. And you know, and you know, and I don't again say it in a way almost like, you know, well, you know, it's my money and I'm pulling the strings. But you know, but being blunt, it is my money.
But also, it's just who you are.
Yeah, you know? and if I want to, you know, while you're with me, we're going to enjoy the spoils together. But if I want to jeopardise our lifestyle, then I'm going to do it. Hopefully, I'm doing it because we're going to be better when we come out the other end of it. But I see so many other business owners I work with, or, you know, friends who've got businesses where their businesses or their dreams are completely hampered by their partners. I'll say partners because, you know, typically with me it's male business owners, you know, with wives, but it works exactly the same the other way, where, you know, their growth is hampered by the fact that they're not allowed to take risks because of their partners. So I think that's always been very important to me. That I guess I've done what I've wanted to do that, but I've also had, you know, supportive people around me, you know, who've allowed me to do it. And I guess, you know, I'm always thinking outside the box. I mean, like, I hate that as an expression, such a cliched expression, but if you look at so many of the deals I've done to buy businesses or to finance businesses, you know, to get things off the ground, you know, they've very rarely have they ever been simply, you know, this costs $100,000, we borrow it from there, we pay it back like that, and that's there's always been some weird and wonderful thing around it where I've borrowed this money from this guy in return for them buying something off him that I never really wanted to buy.
I wish I had the ability to think like that.
Employing a member of staff from him that he didn't want anymore but was embarrassed to fire because they were a family friend or something. And all of my big deals have always had some kind of weird concoction around them. And I guess also, you know, we use the expression, or we use the term, learning, personal development, etc. Now, I mean, it's never something I've really understood until the last couple of years.
Personal development.
But it's something that I guess I've always done, insofar as, you know, I've always wanted to pick people's brains, always wanted to learn more. You know, always, you know, read books,
gain new perspective.
Gain new perspective, read books to gain new knowledge. But yeah, I mean, I never really thought of it in those terms until the last couple of years. You know, when this space started to blow up, and I guess it became more of a household term. But yeah, I mean, they're my ingredients. I mean, I don't. I mean, if you spoke to a few, you know, other successful people, I mean, I don't know how many different ingredients that, you know, that there can be. I mean, I guess, you know, you talk about building a chocolate cake or building a Ferrari or whatever. I mean, look, okay, they've all got tweaks on them. You know, if you're making a chocolate cake, are you using cream, or are you using milk, or are you using soy milk instead of almond milk?
Yeah, but there's certain ingredients.
Like
you can't make a chocolate cake without chocolate.
Exactly. You know, and I don't think you can be wildly successful and make money, you know, without hard work. You know, without the team. You know, I've always had a good team. But you know,
I've had good team members along the years, and yes, okay, it's normally me that gets credited for the success, but I would be foolish or rude to say that there hasn't been people who've helped me along the way. I also think I could have done a hell of a lot more than I've done today if I'd have been able to find and cultivate and keep those keep other team members along the way. But like you say, there are some key ingredients for a chocolate cake. I think it's the same for business. You've got to have a team. You've got to have an appetite for risk. You've got to have a work ethic. And you've got to be prepared to learn and try new things.
I had a conversation with Jules once saying that, look, I can't remember how it led to this conversation, but I basically said, look, I am an entrepreneur. I am a risk taker. I'm always going to be. I'm not going to be that person that's, at 45 when we have kids and saying, I'm not going to take that risk because, we're safe, and I'm always going to take risks. And you'll always be a priority to me. My family will always be my number one priority. But you need to know that sometimes we're going to be on the edge of the line, because that's just who I am. It's part of my DNA. I was washing cars at 10. I was, pushing people's trolleys when I was 12 years old and getting tips. I've always been the hustler, always found ways to make it work, to earn a buck, to find a way to, build a business. So I definitely think that for me, we share that same ingredients.
I mean, listen, unquestionably, as I get older, I probably temper that risk a little more than I would have done 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Insofar as, am I really going to do something now that could end in complete bankruptcy, complete write-off?
Yeah.
Probably not. But do I mind doing things that would risk vast chunks of what I have
exactly,
now? No, I'm not gonna leave myself homeless with a daughter.
Not having any money at the end of the month, at the end of the quarter, because at the end of the day, like we've just said, leading up to this point, you're always going to have your skills.
Exactly.
You always have you, and you always have the ability to go out every single day and just do business. That for me has been the most powerful thing from this conversation. Just get off your ass and go do some business right now.
And I think, as well as having my skills, I've also got my network, and that's for me, that's something that I'm always growing, and it's been so important to me over the years. Again, in the early days, probably doing it subconsciously, or doing it without realizing it. But now, I spend a vast part of my time now. That's why a lot of people look at me and say, "Oh, you're on holiday again, or you're doing this." I'm very often spending time either building relationships with the people I want to build relationships with, or going out there, putting myself in the right places to find new people that I know I could.
That's how we ended up getting together and becoming friends, just because you saw a relationship with me as an asset, and I saw a relationship with you as an asset, and we got together. And that's how you build a network. You just keep building new relationships. And you were joking before about people saying that they don't think you work that hard. I was laughing before because we're having lunch. Matt's cooking on the stove. At the same time, he's on a business call, and on the same time, he's switching between the business call and directing someone to his front door. And I just laughed. I thought, this is fucking chaotic. Is it like this all the time? But I've also been with him in other places where you're constantly on your phone. And it's inspirational to me, because my environment, and this is a wake-up call for me always. When I spend someone that works harder than me, I realize that my environment isn't congruent to the person that I want to be, my greatest potential, because my environment tells me, generally speaking, that I'm working too much. And it's crazy, because if I just spend 1 hour with you, I realize that I don't work. I definitely don't work hard enough.
I mean, I think for me,
that's the power of perspective.
And as well, I think, the point that you're working too much is the point that you're not enjoying it.
Absolutely.
Don't get me wrong, there's times where I think, I wish the phone wasn't ringing. Of course there's times like that, but never am I climbing the walls or very badly stressed or whatever. If I didn't want the phone to ring, if I didn't want to be taking those calls, then I wouldn't be doing it. I guess one of my biggest, let's say, arguments, like if I'm with a girlfriend or something, is that you never turn your phone off. We're at lunch, put your phone down, and I just find it so difficult, because she'll go, well, I want to talk to you. It's like, well, if we've got obviously, if we're going out for a smart dinner or something, then fine. Then I'm going to put my phone away and we're going to concentrate. But if we're on a week's holiday, or we're sat by the pool in Spain, and I'm getting told, turn your phone off because I want to talk to you. look, well, what do you want to talk about? If you've got something that you want to talk, if you've got something you want to talk to me about, then talk to me. But I can't turn my phone off and switch myself away from work and then force a conversation with you. And if you've got a topic or you've got a question, then fire away. But in the meantime, then the WhatsApp's going to be going.
It's funny. I was hearing Grant and Elena Cardone talking about this, right? They obviously mega wealthy, just bought themselves a new jet stream, and they were talking about this rule of you shouldn't be on your phone when you're at dinner, and they were just like, that's normal people talk. And if you want to be normal, go have normal rules for life. If you want to be extraordinary, you achieve massive things, build an empire, in their case, you can't play by those normal rules.
I mean, I think to be clear, it depends what you're doing on the phone. Insofar as if you're sat with your girlfriend
on Facebook,
and you're both on Facebook, you're both on Instagram, then you shouldn't be doing. But I'm not sat at dinner with someone, lacking something to say, and then swiping through my Instagram. It is always something that needs dealing with, at that moment in time.
Big question that I think is going to be valuable for a lot of people, and I'm sure they're wondering this. Okay, it's all great. You've built a success and you keep doing it, and you've gone through bankruptcy and you've found your way again. But you've also said that it's your network has been a massive asset to you. How do you find the people? And that's a very large kind of, not a very direct question, or do you know what I mean? Like, how do you find those people? What do you do to find those people?
How do you find those people? I think, again, without oversimplifying it, you go looking. You go looking for them. You decide what kind of people you need to attach yourself with, and I mean, I've had semi-conversations around this, and I'm always very conscious when I say it that you have to. I'm not saying this in a way that I'm using somebody for example.
We were talking about this earlier.
But you go looking for the people you want to associate with.
Yeah.
You start to try and build a relationship with them because you think that's the person that you want to be associated with, and then the natural, I guess, rules of friendship either play in or don't play. So again, I've got I don't say this sounds like a dick, but I've got a lot of celebrity friends, and people often say, "How do you know those people, or how have you met them?" I'm not going to pretend otherwise from the fact that that over the years I've gone and put myself in situations to meet these people because I've known that it is going to have either been of benefit to a business or to a further relationship or to a charity or whatever. But am I friends with any of those people that I wouldn't genuinely be friends with? No. Right?
Yeah.
The people that you might see me hanging out with are the people who are genuinely a friend because the relationship's developed into that. I could list you 10 times as many people that I've met along the way where for whatever reason we just haven't resonated with each other, and therefore friendship has just naturally not developed. And and again, for me it's exactly the same. Whether it's a business person or whether it's anyone else in life. I think people always think, well, you've gone and met that person, you're using them. Well, I mean, there's always a reason why you want to meet anyone. Why have you got with your girlfriend? You saw her in a bar and you thought she was hot. You've gone over to speak to her. Are you using her? No, she had something you wanted. She was attractive. There's a business owner who could teach you something, or there's an investor who could give you some money, or there's a celebrity who could introduce, who could help your charity. There's always an initial reason in life why you want to start to build a relationship with somebody. But then, then it either works or it doesn't work. And I don't have any relationships with anybody, rich or poor, well known or not at all known, who I don't have a genuine relationship with, where we're mates.
So I think it's like find someone that has something that you want, whether it's love or lessons or help you to leave a legacy or whatever, and find a way to make that relationship work.
Completely. Yeah. I mean, let's look at us. We met during our podcast, which is interesting. Actually, I've so many of the relationships I've got now. I've actually people I've met through doing the podcast. We met. There was something that resonated at the time. We weren't bezies, but there was something something that I thought, you know,
he's
interesting. I want to be around this guy. You know, I invite you on the ski trip, and the relationship develops from there. You know, if we'd have gone skiing and I'd have thought you were a dick, or we hadn't got on, or whatever, then we're never going to have a fallout. But you know, we wouldn't be sat here now. I think, you know, it's like anything. You meet the girl. All my analogies always go back to women. You meet the girl because, you know, she's hot, which is what she's got to offer for you. So you go on a date. On the date, if you don't have any banter over dinner, then there's not going to be a second date. Yeah. And it's just the same. I think. You know,
so keep dating people.
Exactly. or
maybe not as much as you.
or find the one that works and then build that relationship.
I think
maybe that's not the best analogy, right?
No, I think it's a great analogy. I think, you know, it just comes down to conversations. And understanding, you know, why am I having this conversation? How is this benefiting me? And I'm the same, maybe not as, you know, in the same way as you, but I will always ask myself, what am I getting from this relationship? And if I'm not getting anything from it, it's not that I'm being a dick, or you might think I'm a dick, but I just think that life is too short, and I want to be spending time with people that I can give them something, but at the same time they can give me something in return. That's a mutual respect, a mutual value relationship.
Well, let's not forget as well that for there to be a relationship, it has to be a two-way street. Yeah. You know, so you can't be, you know, you can't be using someone if they're not using you.
Exactly. Because that's why they're not calling you back.
Yeah.
So if anyone's thinking, you know, I don't want to network because I don't like networking, you know, how are you ever going to build relationships? How are you ever going to build contacts, etc.?
It's impossible. I mean, it's absolute. I'm going to go as far as to say it is physically impossible to have any degree of success in any area without networking or building a network. I mean, it's just not possible. You know, whether that's you know, to grow a business, you know, whether it's to find investment, whether it's to, you know, to get on the dating scene, you know, whether it's to, you know, to have fun at the local gym. I mean, you just can't do it. You can't do it as a sole trader.
Man, that's powerful. You just have to go out and have conversations. A lot of what we shared is actually just very simple things to do. You know, get out there, do business every day. You know, be willing to take risks. But sometimes people just need to hear these. And
you know what? I think pretty much everything is that simple. You know, it really is. And okay, it's simple to us because we can see it in the same way. If we ask someone else a question that they answer for us, you know, the answer is probably simple. But you know, other than molecular science or, you know, putting a man on the moon, etc. You know, life and business and relationships and things, you know, they're not complicated. You know, everything's about getting from A to B. You know, or turning a pound into two. You know, whilst keeping the overheads as little as possible, or meeting someone and offering them something while they offer you something in return. I mean, you know, none of these things are complicated concepts. I think you just a lot of people's problems is probably overthinking it too much.
Yeah, or you just haven't reached mastery, or maybe you're not even practicing, you know, the thing that you need to, well, that's a problem in your life. I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, a really great friend of mine, former client, and we look at our strengths and weaknesses, and basically we said to each other, look, over the next few months, he said to me, JP, will you just keep helping me with the physical mastery stuff? And I'll keep helping you with the financial mastery stuff. So we're like complementing each other, and we're helping each other with each other's strengths. And that's a beautiful relationship.
Well, I think exercise is a fantastic analogy, you know, to business and to achieving things. And I can say this, you know, being someone who struggles with exercise or who isn't in great shape. But, you know, what is the secret of getting in great shape? Well, it's not hard. Eat well and go to the gym, you know.
And consistency, do it over and over
again. But, you know, why do I not have a six pack? You know, why can I not run, you know, a 4-minute mile? Because it's either not been my interest, it's not been my focus, it's not been my priority.
It's consistency.
But it's consistency. Yeah. But prior to consistency, you know, what is the plan? Well, the plan's very simple. You're going to get up, you're going to go to the gym. Yeah. This is the workout you're going to do. Yeah. And by the way, you're not going to, you know, get a chocolate bar on the way home from the gym either.
Yeah.
And you know, so many things of
business. I think a lot of what we shared comes down to consistency or a lack thereof. You know, even for you, I don't think because you live this larger than life, you know, high flyer, busy. I don't think fitness is ever going to be even a number 3 priority for you. But if you just were consistent.
I tell you though, and I've said this to a lot of people lately,
it's something I've only really started to believe or feel the benefits of over the last couple of years. I mean, not even that, maybe over the last 12 months or so. I've always exercised, I play tennis, I work out, etc. But it's really only the last year or so that I've seen what a big difference, either sleeping right or eating right or adding more, let's say, controlled exercise into my daily routine can then have the benefit on my mindset and my business, etc.
Your energy.
I mean, I would struggle to. Okay, they might not all have six packs, but you don't really see any multi-millionaires or any billionaires who are 25 stone wrecks, or who smoke like chimney or take copious amounts of drugs or something. Listen, there's always exceptions to the rules and stuff. But listen.
Generally speaking, successful people in life are successful in their physical health.
Yeah. And have some kind of control.
And there's the evidence. You can go read book after book after book after book of the most, biographies of the most successful people, and they all have some form of health and fitness habit in their life. Man, I could just keep talking to you, and I realize this is probably the longest that you've ever been without a phone. So
it's actually such a refreshing change to not be the one asking the questions for once. If it feels like there's a real pressure off.
I'm going to ask two quick questions.
Go for it.
One, if you had to start all over again tomorrow morning, I'll give you the rest of the day off.
Okay.
What would you do tomorrow if you had to start from scratch?
Knowing what I know now.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's almost just the repeat answer to what we're saying. That I would wake up, I would pick up the phone,
but what would you do though? If you could do anything, what would you do?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Would I do?
So I've closed all your businesses.
Would I do something in a different line of business?
Yeah. What would you do? What would you add to your life that you're not doing?
So I mean, we haven't really spoken about where I'm at now, but my business, to contextualise this nowadays, is I lend to UK small businesses and invest in small businesses, startups, etc. And I'd see myself doing that for forever. But just because, look, it's something I understand, but every day is a new day. Every deal is slightly different. I mean, over the last 12 or 18 months, as I've started to build a more public profile with this, I get a lot of people approaching me for coaching, for mentorship. For
I imagine you must get a lot now.
To let JV on their businesses, and I do some, I don't do others, which nothing more complicated than obviously A, time, and B, I always want to be a good fit for people's businesses. I mean, I can always talk sales and marketing, whatever your space is, but biotech, IT, all those kind of things. It's not my interest, it's not my space, and I think I'd struggle to add value. I think if I was to shut everything down and wake up again tomorrow, I'd just want to continue to connect with other hungry business owners, wannabe entrepreneurs, and use my skill set to help propel them.
I think what's really important to point out there to everyone watching is the fact that you said you would just keep doing this because you love it. And to come back to what we were saying before, the reason why you work so hard at the same time you feel like you never work a day in your life is because you love it so much. Warren Buffett, one of the greatest or most wealthiest people in the world and greatest business people in the world, he openly talks in his books and stuff about the fact that yes, he's been doing this since he was 12 years old because he loves it. So you can't say actually Warren Buffett's been really successful at reading reports since he was 12 and being an investor, etc. Maybe I should do that so I can be successful. No, he fucking loves it, absolutely loves it. And for me, the only thing I love, and this time in hospital that I've spent this year and being on my back, so to speak, I just had this reminder that there's only two things that I've ever loved, to a point that if I could outsource these two things, I would never do it. And it's fitness and doing fitness challenges and inspiring life into people, whether it's through conversations like this or on stage. I would never outsource that.
I think maybe I could outsource my fitness to you, and then you're doing twice as much, and you'll be twice as happy.
Happily. But you can outsource your money to me.
But you mentioned Warren Buffett, and actually, while we talk simplicity, Warren is a prime example of someone where if you actually do some time, studying him and reading his books and reading his quotes, etc. And again, his business partner Charlie Munger. Between the two of them, I don't think they've ever said anything remotely complicated. I mean, everything they talk about is just simple,
yeah, I'm trying to think of other words to add to that. There are no other, that they're just simple, basic, sensible principles that whilst applied and compounded, or consistency, as you say, ultimately turn into wildly successful businesses and huge amounts of wealth.
It's not easy, but it is simple.
Yes.
Yeah, amazing. So that's looking forward. Final question. Looking back on today, from today, looking back, what are you grateful for? Truly grateful for?
I've always had a fantastic core of friends, if you like. I think I'm and I'll always say, look, if I didn't do it with that person, I'd have found someone else to do it with, because ultimately I know that I'm not going to take no for an answer, and I'm going to go and achieve. But if I look back over the last 20 years, I've got a phenomenal group of people who've put trust in me. When I've needed them, whether that's to invest in a project, to back me when I'm down. I think as well, my daughter, obviously, you've never met Harley, have you? You'll see her tomorrow. I mean, and she, and again, it sounds cliche to say it, but I mean, she is my kind of number one. She's getting too old and too cool to want to speak to me anymore, but spends all the time with the horse. But I absolutely cherish every minute of time with her, and I've got a phenomenal relationship with my ex-wife, who's her mum, which on paper I shouldn't have, because I'm trying to think of a way to never mind the Range Rover. I'm trying to think of a way to sugarcoat this, but we were married during the heydays of my strip club empire, and I was a 25-year-old fucking dog for want of a better word. And I think and any other woman who'd listened who'd been on the receiving end of 1% of what I did to her would have made sure I never saw her, I never saw my kid ever again. I mean, we haven't been together for a long time, and we've been divorced for a little bit less time than that, but we have a phenomenal relationship. We don't have we never had a financial divorce agreement. We don't have a single piece of paper to do with custody for the daughter. For Harley, it's very much a matter of, I pick up the phone, I'm in town, can I have a couple of extra days? She brings up, says, I'm going on holiday. Do you want to have an extra week here and there? And I think without those bits of normality in life, because for all the highs and the crazy stuff, for every time I'm jumping on a private jet, or hanging out in a glamorous or celebrity environment, if it wasn't for being able to sit on the couch and eat a Nando's and watch a Netflix and have a cuddle with Harley, all of that would be miserable and irrelevant. So I think I've got to be grateful for the fact that 13 years on, I've still got simplicity in my home life.
Man, that's beautiful, and I love how everything that you said, not that one is right and one is wrong, but everything you said you're grateful for had to do with love, relationships and family, and nothing about business. You're a truly amazing guy, dude. Love hanging out with you.
Thank you.
Really humble guy. Honestly, it wasn't until I actually saw the things, stepping in the private plane or the Ferrari or whatever, that I you see his success, because Matt never talks about it ever. Great guy, humble guy, great teacher, great educator. 100% connect with him on social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn and YouTube. The funding
either Matt Haycox, MattHaycox, or the Matt Haycox, TheMattHaycox. So yeah, look me up, follow me. I always respond to everything. I'll always try. I might not be doing it immediately, but I'll always try and get back to people if they've ever got questions or problems or want to know something. And I do genuinely love hearing from you guys and fixing some of your problems.
I love how when you do, sometimes your videos are based on someone just sending you a message, and then you answer it in a way that it's valuable to everyone. I try to do that
two birds with one stone, because I want to give value to you guys, but a lot of the time people say, how do you think of what to do? How do you think of what content to create tomorrow? Yeah. And the answer is, you guys do it for me. I can't pretend to sit down here and go, I've had some fantastic ideas of what I'm going to talk about today. The content I create is based around the problems or the questions that people ask me, or the day that I've had that day, or the week before.
Awesome, man.
I was going to say, I don't know if there's any questions or anything on there.
Can you check on your computer? Just while you do that, I'll just share a couple of things. So I'm going to Matt's Foundation's charity ball tomorrow. Really looking forward to that. And actually, for myself in 2020, what I'm doing right now, other than speaking opportunities that just come to me naturally, I'm also going out and again to get back to being a professional athlete and a full-time athlete, and I've been focusing on getting sponsors, and actually just recently Matt has come on as a sponsor, so just want to give him a thank you for backing me as an athlete and sharing my mission of going out and inspiring you guys through my physical challenges, because I can't do it on my own. Just like Matt says, you can't do anything in business on your own. So we're going to close off this interview now. What we are going to do, I'm not sure whether we're going to do it on Facebook Live or whether we're going to do it recorded, but we're now going to have a different conversation for Matt's audience on Matt's platform. So definitely, if you enjoyed this conversation and you find value in learning from someone that's had money, not had money, been through success and failure, and then come out the other side, and you have your own business or you're scared to take risks, definitely connect with Matt and immerse yourself in his content.
That means I'm not going to be able to relax anymore. I'm going to have to be on duty, and JP can relax while I do all the questioning.
Last question. It's actually not a question. What would you say to everyone watching that right now is in a place of feeling stuck and knows what to do, but is in fear and scared of taking risks?
Again, without sounding too simple, just go and do it, because what is the worst that can happen? I think a lot of people say look at risk and want to go and do something, and they're not happy with the current situation, and they know that if they do X, Y, Z, it could put them in the situation they want to be in. But they've got more fear of losing the situation they're in now than they're prepared to put into getting the situation they want to be in, which makes no fucking sense, because you're not happy where you are now anyway. And I think with 99% of the situations out there, what is the worst? What is the worst that can happen? If you're in a job that you don't like, so you go and try and get go and take a step and start your own business, or go and take the job that you want. If it doesn't work out, then go back to it. And again, okay, that may sound simplistic,
but it's the truth.
If you're a 300 grand a year partner in a law firm, and you step out and you start your own business, you might struggle to step back into being a 300 grand a year partner in a law firm. But I'm sure for most people watching this, and for most people in life, the job you're in and the income bracket you're in is something that you could, without too much difficulty, step back into if what you went and tried what wasn't successful. And I think for me, you only regret the things that you don't do, not the things you do. And a lot of what we say, sounds cliche, but it really is that. It really is that simple and that true. Don't be. I can tell you about any of the things that I've done where I've done them later than I actually wanted to do them. My only regret is looking back thinking, fucking hell, why didn't I do that a year ago? Why didn't I do that 2 years ago? Very, very rarely do I look at something and think, why did I do that? Okay, fine. I make bad investments. I'll do things where it loses money. But I think you can always make back money. You can never make back time.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. You don't have to be perfect. You can look at Matt's life. He certainly hasn't been perfect or isn't perfect. But you have to be prolific, and you have to be omnipresent. Be everywhere. Go out there, have conversations, and just show up every day. Like I always say, no one cares what you've been through yesterday. Stop moaning. What is your next move? Are there any comments? I think it's shut off again.
They went up, but they're basically just people saying,
just sharing.
Yeah, just say such realism, and someone's obviously saying to you, you're an inspiration during my recovery. But yeah, JP's an inspiration to all of us every day, I'm sure. And we talked about realism and honesty and transparency, and I think for both of us that really is the only way to be.
Awesome, man. Thank you again
so much. Thanks for being here.
Love you, brother.
Cheers, buddy.
All right, guys.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Cheers.